Hey, everybody. Thanks for the patience of just waiting on us getting started here. This is Dan Racer from the Web3 Foundation. I am a manager on the community and growth team based in Austin, Texas. Excited to kick this off. I wanted to introduce the three people here on the screen. We've got Derek from Moonbeam, Hanwen from Litentry, and then Alex, who just recently joined the Ocean Protocol team. Alex and I have been friends for I think about a year or two now in the industry, and just getting him into the ecosystem now, he's going to be running this kind of monthly meetup, this being the first one. So we're excited to get things going. So Alex, I'll hand it over to you and let you kind of kick everything off.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dan. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night to everyone joining around the globe. I was really excited to kickstart this Virtual Polkadot Ecosystem Meetup. I know meetups in person are a really great way to meet people and meet new projects and learn more and collaborate with the peers in crypto. Unfortunately, those things are, the in real life meetups aren't going on right now. So to recreate that same zest and zeitgeist in this virtual crowdcast format is something I think can really add a lot of value to the Polkadot ecosystem and recreate it in this space. So yeah, as Dan mentioned, this is the first of hopefully many meetups, and the kind of goal is to have every month to every 6 weeks have a meetup around that timeline, and have projects in the space come and present what they're working on, any developments. So the format will be 2 speakers. The first one will go for the first half of the hour, and then leaving time for Q&A. And then the second presenter will speak, and then leaving time at the end of their presentation for some Q&A. So today we have Derek Yu from Moonbeam, and Moonbeam is a smart contract parachain with Ethereum compatibility. We also have Hanwen with the CEO of Litentry, which is effectively an identity oracle that is also building a handful of applications. And I'm really excited to learn more about these projects, and really interested for them to share. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started with Derek. Thanks so much for being with us today, and I'll go on mute. And just to note, if you have questions as we're going along, go ahead and drop them in the comments and chat, and then we'll kind of go through them at the end of the presentation. Thanks so much.
Cool. So bear with me a moment. Let me share my screen so that we can start the presentation here. And just to kick things off, thanks, Alex, for the introduction. I want to spend a little bit of time here telling you about our project Moonbeam. So just introductions first. I'm Derek Yu. I'm the CEO of PureStake. PureStake is the company kind of building Moonbeam, the protocol and parachain. And so just to maybe give you a little bit of background on just us ourselves and kind of some of our beliefs and what we think and what motivates us. I think really our vision is one of that we're headed into this multi-chain future, right? That we believe there's going to be many blockchains, and we really believe that in this kind of multi-chain future, cross-chain interoperability is going to be one of the key challenges to overcome. And so you won't be surprised to learn that with that kind of vision, we were led pretty quickly to Polkadot. I mean, Polkadot really, I think, shares that vision in a lot of ways. It enables it, through Substrate and through a lot of the technology that's being created, is really the design of Polkadot itself is obviously addressing kind of these problems of cross-chain interoperability. So we've been working in the Polkadot ecosystem for some time now. Really, almost all of our energy is going into the project Moonbeam at this point. We really see our role as kind of helping projects with multi-chain deployments. And I'll get into more detail as to what that exactly means, in the presentation here. But I think at the moment, a lot of what that means is a multi-chain deployment across Ethereum and Polkadot. That is definitely something that we're helping a number of projects with. In the future, I think it's going to mean multi-chain deployments even within Polkadot, right? So applications that would potentially span or leverage services, from multiple chains, within the Polkadot ecosystem. But that's going to take some time to evolve. And this kind of idea of a multi-chain deployment really is kind of similar in both scenarios, where we believe that applications are going to start to span multiple blockchains in a way that they haven't historically. And so, just us as a team, we've been, a lot of us have quite a bit of experience from the non-blockchain world, and we've been working together in previous companies before coming to kind of crypto and blockchain and Polkadot. And so we're kind of bringing, just some of that, that expertise in developing software and developing, platforms to Moonbeam and to Polkadot. So, I kind of mentioned this kind of concept of a multi-chain strategy, and we've been talking to quite a number of folks at this point about helping them with this. So the first question that might just make sense to address is, why does a multi-chain strategy make sense, right? And in particular, we've been talking to a lot of projects are deployed currently on Ethereum. I mean, Ethereum is where the bulk of today's activity is happening. That's where the bulk of the deployed projects are. And I think there's definitely some themes that have come out of those set of discussions that we found in common. So one is that I think in particular due to the this summer's run up in gas prices on Ethereum due to a lot of the vegetable farming and the other things that were going on there, that really led people to kind of come to the realization that having just an ETH L1 only strategy even for a successful project is going to be limiting in some sense, right? It's there's definitely going to be use cases, scenarios that you just can't serve well from Ethereum. And it's just going to continue probably to grow in adoption. So the current prices are going to grow over time, and so they're looking. They kind of see this lost market opportunity, right? So there's just some set of scenarios that they just can't serve, and so a lot of projects that we're talking to are looking for a way to serve those. And I think at the same time, Polkadot and its ecosystem is one of the most interesting places. Just one of the most interesting places in terms of organic activity, in terms of new assets being created. And so a lot of folks want to be, a first mover in this new market. So I think, those are kind of the two immediate drivers. Our belief is that over time, you'll also be able to deliver a much better user experience, using these kind of multi-chain strategies we talked about even within Polkadot. But that's, I think, not the immediate driver. That's more of the long-term driver. And so, how are we helping people? Well, I just wanted to, I don't know if you can see this. Let me move this kind of bar over a little bit. We're working with a number of existing projects. I've listed some of them along the bottom here just to give you some sense of existing projects where we're helping them with a dual deployment strategy. Dual deployment strategy across Ethereum and Polkadot. And so how are we doing that? Well, by using Moonbeam and our Ethereum compatibility, the feature set that we've created, projects can take a single code base and use it to drive their deployment on Ethereum as well as the deployment onto Moonbeam. And for the Moonbeam deployment, obviously that will give them access to Polkadot-based assets, users, and open up their application to some of these use cases that they can't address on Ethereum. So, examples are, for example, Sushi Swap, for those of you who aren't familiar, has, I think at this point, the number 2 or number 3 is in the number 2 or number 3 top DEX by total value locked. A very prominent project. They're planning a deployment on Moonbeam to be able to offer, a DEX basically for all of the assets that are being created in Polkadot. Linear Finance is building a synthetic assets exchange. Injective Protocols and other cross-chain DEX. We're really working with a number of projects at this point. These are the ones that are announced, but many more kind of in the pipeline that all have this common theme of wanting a dual deployment strategy. And I think if you look at it from their point of view, obviously this ability to use the same code base, for both their Ethereum deployment as well as their Polkadot deployment is attractive, versus maintaining 2 different code bases. But I think that also it's the ability to access assets. So when you start talking about integrations that that we're working on, particularly with other Polkadot-based parachains. A big thing that people want, that the projects we're working with want, is they want access to assets, right? So all of the assets being created, in particular, DOT itself, right, from the relay chain. And so that's really the first set of integrations that we're doing, that are kind of internal to Polkadot, will be asset integrations, right, to bring, assets. And this is in particular as the XCMP protocol goes live and comes to the relay chain. We'll be doing asset integrations with a number of other projects to bring those to bring the assets, to Moonbeam, and we'll represent them there as like ERC20s in our Ethereum compatible environment. And so that's that's something that will then be compatible with all of these services that I just talked about. So DEXs and other kinds of DeFi protocols. We'll be able to work with those assets right off the bat, and those are assets that they can't get access to on Ethereum. So just wanted to maybe take a moment and just talk a little bit about how this works, right, and to kind of dig into a little bit more of detail around. We talk about Moonbeam being an Ethereum compatible parachain. So what does that actually mean, and how does it work? And so really, when you start looking under the hood, we've worked quite closely with Parity on the engineering side to create a number of these Ethereum compatibility components implemented in Substrate. So Substrate being kind of the development framework that most Polkadot-based teams are using to create parachains. We've implemented a set of features. Some of them, came from the Parity side, and some of them we've created. So in particular, we have a full EVM implementation on Moonbeam. We have a complete Web3 RPC. So that's really the APIs that are used to interact with an Ethereum network. We have a full implementation of those, as well as the kind of the emulation of a number of other kind of things that Ethereum-based tools expect. So these are things like the account structure. We've made kind of the same on Moonbeam as is on Ethereum. So that's Ethereum style kind of accounts and keys, as well as transaction receipts, logs. There's a whole bunch of work we've done to create this kind of fully compatible Ethereum environment. And the cool part about that is really we're striving for something that just looks and feels just like Ethereum, but is on Polkadot. And that's what allows existing applications to deploy to deploy onto Moonbeam and kind of work without any significant changes. So to give you an example of the compatibility we're talking about, if you look here at some of these screenshots, I know they're a little bit small, but this is an example of some screenshots I took of taking just out of the box MetaMask. So the same MetaMask you'd use to connect to Ethereum and to transact either Ether or ERC20s, and you can just point it at a Moonbeam node. And MetaMask thinks that it's just connected to yet another Ethereum network, so it will kind of happily connect. In the back is a screenshot of Remix. We, in this example, used Remix to deploy an ERC20 contract, just a standard ERC20 contract. Gave it a name, gave it an initial balance, and then on the right you can see that that ERC20 has been loaded into MetaMask, and then I'm going through a transaction basically of sending this ERC20 that I just deployed to Moonbeam from one account to another. And so kind of the point here is that all these tools, these existing tools that are already, well understood and, are relied upon by a lot of people, they work, given the Ethereum compatibility work that we've done. And, they kind of just think they're connected to yet another Ethereum network. Yet, under the hood, they're connected to, what's going to be a Polkadot parachain, and that will have access to, all of the different Polkadot-based, assets that are being created, in the ecosystem. So I think it's pretty cool. So just to talk perhaps just a little bit about some of the integration work that we're doing. So, we covered some of it in the sense that, we're doing integrations to give access to Polkadot-based assets. We are also working on a number of bridging integrations to be able to bring I would call them non-Polkadot native assets to Moonbeam. So that includes, integrations back to Ethereum itself to be able to move ERC20s from Ethereum to Moonbeam. A lot of the projects we're working with want that. They have an existing asset on Ethereum that they want to be able to move so that it can work with their Moonbeam-based deployment. And then, even assets from other networks. So things like Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Injective is a Cosmos SDK-based chain, which we're doing an integration with. So we are doing, other integrations, and that's, I think it's pretty cool to see, all the different kinds of assets and integrations that, interest in Polkadot really and in Moonbeam. On the tech side, a lot of the projects we're working with, it's not only the tools that they, require, it's really there's other services that they require from Ethereum. And so we've been kind of using them to help us kind of prioritize, what these integrations look like. So for example, some of the projects we're working with, told us they require, Oracle support. So they either rely on Chainlink or band-based oracles. So we've been working on integrations of Chainlink and of band. A bunch of projects we're working with also rely on the graph-based subgraphs on Ethereum. So that's kind of a way that you can create like indexed data stores to help make UIs kind of more performant. So we're working on providing something an equivalent capability on Moonbeam, which they can use. And so there's really kind of a growing set of integrations around the platform that's based on these customers needs that we're working with, or these projects that we're working with. So that's that's definitely also something that we're pretty excited about. And just I wanted to just give a sense for folks of where where we are right now in terms of our project. From a development perspective, we obviously still are in development. We're in a testnet phase. We are awaiting right now, like many other parachain-based projects, the start or the launch of the parachain auctions. To start, first on Kusama, and we will have a Kusama-based deployment of Moonbeam, in addition to a Polkadot based deployment. And so we're working right now quite closely on kind of preparing our our chain to be a parachain. So that means integrating all of the Cumulus updates as they're coming. There's quite a bit of them coming at this point, and some of the next things that are under development on our side are adding support for like an external collator community. So as the Cumulus kind of library, which is the glue that allows you to glue into the Polkadot relay chain as a parachain. As that matures, that's kind of the big next step for us, is to add basically support for third parties to run collators, and then to start working with our collator community, many of whom we've been in discussions with for some time. So that's kind of the thing to look forward to as a next step, and we're gearing up to have a Kusama-based deployment in the first quarter as those auctions start. So yeah, I mean, I think I kind of covered some of this before, but we have a growing ecosystem. I think I'm pretty pleased with the progress we've made in terms of project adoption, integrations to the platform. There is definitely a growing ecosystem of projects are in and around Moonbeam. I think we represent kind of, it's a good fit. We're a pretty good fit, particularly for these projects that are pursuing multi-chain deployment strategies, of which that seems to be quite a few at this point. And we have a bunch more projects that are in our pipeline that we're engaged with that we'll be announcing in the in the coming months. So definitely stay tuned for some of those announcements as they come out. And I guess I'll just end on love to talk to you, particularly we're interested in talking to projects that where we could be a good fit from a deployment perspective. We're happy to kind of support projects that are looking for a place to deploy on Polkadot. And I was leaving some links here for both our website, Twitter, and Telegram. We also have a Discord, which is where a lot of the development-oriented discussions happen. So we'd kind of love to hear from you.
That was great, Derek. Thank you so much. Yeah, super interesting. Just scanning the chat here real quick to see if we got anything. I'm not seeing any questions pop up at the moment. If anyone has any, go ahead and submit. But yeah, I'll go ahead and start a question. So in this Moonbeam integration, or rather the Polkadot integration for these existing Ethereum projects, how might their previous account states get updated if you're going to start interacting with Polkadot? Account states for those.
That's a great question. So I would say that there's several different deployment models that we've been talking to with the projects we're working with. So the idea of kind of migrating account state is one that comes up like on a migration scenario. So for someone who is really looking to leave Ethereum, they may want to freeze the state at a particular block height, import it over to Moonbeam and then continue there. I would actually say that's the minority of the, that's the least common scenario. Most people do want to maintain their Ethereum deployment, but they're looking to also have a Moonbeam deployment. So they would actually have a dual deployment strategy. And in that case, I think the migration of state, we are kind of work on some tools that will help facilitate that. But that seems to be less of the concern. And really, the more common pattern we see is that people are okay starting with the state from scratch again. And that's where we see different techniques. So let me take the example of SushiSwap, right? So in their example, they're going to have a complete new instance, a new deployment of both their DEX and their lending and borrowing protocol. But then they're creating a new asset. So there's a Sushi asset on Ethereum. They're going to create a new asset. It's to be named yet, but they're going to create a new asset on the Moonbeam / Polkadot deployment. And then their plan is kind of clever, where they basically plan to, since the account structures are the same, they're going to take a snapshot of all the Sushi holders on Ethereum, and then airdrop the new asset to the same addresses, but on Moonbeam, along with some of the gas token or our underlying token. And then the idea is, as a user, if you're in MetaMask, if you switch your MetaMask over, you'll have the right account and the right keys for basically accessing those assets, when you move your MetaMask over, right? Because the accounts and the keys are the same. So then, as soon as you get onto Moonbeam, you'll have the new asset and you'll have the gas token, so you can immediately start using it with the protocol, basically the question. So that's they'll give you an example of that's their plan.
Fascinating. Yeah, it's incredibly interesting and pretty state of the art. I do say so myself. I guess we have a question here on the side. Will the user have to undergo multiple steps to interact with the Polkadot while starting with an Ethereum DEX?
So I think, in the case I was just talking about, there would be actually two separate instances. So there's kind of two dApps in that case. And this is where I would say that there's another discussion that's happening with projects where they're kind of thinking through what the UX looks like. So the question is, there's multiple questions here. One is, how do they divide? So is it by asset or by use case, or how are they dividing things? And then also, is there going to be a common entry point for the user? And then do they pick okay, do I go to the Ethereum deployment or the Polkadot deployment? And different teams have come up with different ideas on this front. But I definitely think that this is an important question that I can't say that there's one answer that I'm seeing over and over again. Different teams are deciding different things on how to steer users and what the criteria would be to send them one direction or another.
You mentioned this very briefly in your first answer question. Could you touch on the Moonbeam native gas token?
Sure. So we have an underlying platform token. It's called Glimmer. And think of it this way, that it's basically a utility token that has all of the same utility as ETH does on Ethereum. So it serves that same function. It serves as basically gas for smart contract execution. It does also have some other functions, because we are also adding things like staking and governance. That's things that are pretty common with other substrate-based chains. We are adding those features as well to our chain. So the underlying platform token will be used, for both staking and for on-chain governance as well.
Super interesting. Yeah, how might the native Glimmer on-chain governance kind of go in tandem with kind of the Polkadot dot staking in that shared security model? Is it mainly is it for security, or is it mainly focused more on governance sort of?
The staking components would be the mechanics around how we're actually going to both select and kind of manage the collators that are providing block production and liveness for our chain. So that is a separate staking kind of mechanism. Even though the mechanics are the same, it's separate from the staking mechanics that are on the relay chain that manage kind of the validator set on there. So that is different. For on-chain governance, it is obviously just the governance of like the Moonbeam chain itself. So like upgrades to the Moonbeam parachain, spending from the treasury, all the kind of these kinds of like activities, would be subject to on-chain governance.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really, really cool and exciting to see all these governance primitives come out right now and see how they interact with controlling a protocol. Super. I think that I haven't seen another question pop up in the thread, but yeah, Derek, thank you so much, and really excited to have folks go check out Moonbeam.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. Yeah, it was great being here.
Perfect. Sweet. Yeah, we'll bring up the next presenter, Hanwen from Litentry, and we'll kick things off. When you're ready, Hanwen, go ahead and share your screen and get things going.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Alex. Thanks for the great talk from Derek. Okay, let me share my screen. Yeah. Let me see. Okay. Okay, great. So Litentry is a project started from the last year. Probably we haven't made too much marketing or PR in the Polkadot ecosystem. So probably we are still to be seen as a secret project to the community. So here, so today I will use this chance to have a brief introduction about different aspects of our projects. So firstly, myself, we start at this project. As I start this project from 2019, I also joined the party Berlin as a software engineer. At that time, I was product owner of the PreDesigner. As many of you may know, the PreDesigner is a code mobile wallet for Polkadot and Ethereum accounts. So during the time working for party, I only used my spare time to lead this project with two of our external early contributors to build the project, and we kept exploring the decentralized identity, and finally on this September we decided that the direction is fixed and that the concept is mature, and then I jump up out of the party and start to working full-time for the Litentry project, and which I think would make a bigger contribution to the whole Polkadot ecosystem. And about the Litentry, it is a network feature or cross-chain identity aggregator on Polkadot ecosystem. It included identity-based network and related tools, for example, the mobile apps. And the main features is identity linking, that to link the identity from different blockchains, and the credit computation functionality. The credit computation means that the user could fetch the history or the transaction data from different blockchains and then computed accumulated credit for the Litentry identity. So, which I will explain later. And as a whole, it consists of a decentralized identity infrastructure for Web3 future. And we are building on Substrate, and we are planning to integrate into Polkadot as a parachain in the future. So the current problem here's current problem of the blockchain. So as we see today, there's many new kinds of data which is generated from different blockchains. In addition to to just transfer the balance. For example, on Polkadot, there's a lot of on-chain governance actions happens here, and they are presented by extrinsic, which is also kind of transactions. And the same thing is that, for example, in the Filecoin, that is the user read and write files, that are transactions. And on Uniswap, the liquidity providing actions are also transaction on smart contract. And for example, on Subsocial, I see Alex also joined the room. That's the published articles and the like is also, it's also done by transactions. And for example, on Qt, that's credential registration actions. So all of these actions are transactions on the blockchain. So there's a lot of data actually here. So if we can aggregate the, for example, the user behind the different blockchains, and making, that the user to compute a profile for them for themselves. So I believe this will generate a lot of value. So for example, that the most hottest topic this year is DeFi, right? So for example, currently all the lendings are hyper collateralized lending. But for example, if you think about if a user is a long-term liquidity provider, so probably we do not need to do the hyper collateralized lending, provide just 90% of the deposit or 80% of the deposit according to his history liquidity providing transactions. And but another example is about the on-chain governance on different, like the substrate-based blockchains. As Moonbeam also said, they will also have this on-chain governance on their own blockchain. So, right. So also on Litentry, in the future, we will also have our own on-chain governance. So currently, the voting is using the fragment method to equalize the different voting power. But if we have some like voting credit, for example, if we know a user is actively involved into the on-chain governance and the off-chain discussion, so should this person have more voting power than the others? So that's a question. If we have such a credit, then we could add this voting power as another weight, as another scale into the voting or the on-chain governance process. And think about also the other chains like or the off-chain data. If we aggregate that different data from different blockchain, not only the on-chain governance and DeFi activities, if we get all these other information, probably we could create like more analyzed user scenarios or computed user scenarios here. So I just make two examples about on-chain governance and DeFi activities, right? So now what do we do to solve this problem? What exactly our protocol is? So we create a platform for every user or the apps. They could upload the credit or let's say credit computation functions. They could submit these functions into the blockchain, and people could like to vote on the functions to change, for example, the arguments or change the computation method, or to change like where to fetch this data from Uniswap or from SushiSwap, right? So and then each time the user requests computation, credit computation, a new credit is generated in real time by the off-chain workers and from the blockchain. And the user could use this credit, in lending, in authorization, or in voting in different scenarios. And some key features about the Litentry protocol is it is transparent, trustless, and self-involving. So the transparent means that all the data, all the functions, they are public on the blockchain, and we are to, for example, from which endpoint to fetch the data, from either scan or from RPC point to fetch the data, and how to compute it's all on the blockchain. It's not like any banking systems. You don't know what happens behind it, behind your credit. And another thing is that it is trustless. That means that everybody could join the network as a validator. It's like a big identity oracle, trustless identity oracle, to compute the credit. And third thing is that it is self-evolving. Thanks to the on-chain governance feature from Polkadot and Substrate, and we could also use this on-chain governance feature to changing the different computation functions on Litentry blockchain. So also the Litentry protocol is fully compliant with W3C DID standard. So we, for example, that's decentralized. Our protocol is decentral, has a feature of decentralization of identity storage. That means the identity data is actually stored on different blockchain nodes stored here. We only store the linking, the relationships on our blockchain. The second is decentralization of identity authentication. That means the authentication is completely solving by the cryptography on different blockchains. And the decentralization of identity relationship and the decentralization of identity data allocation is all done by the off-chain worker on the Litentry from the Litentry validators. And the relationship is stored on our blockchain, but we are seeking the privacy partners to keep this relationship data in private. So about the token economies, that for example, all the users who are linking different identities from different blockchain into Litentry, they will get the linking lit reverse. And for the dApps, they could fetching the matching qualified user if user have records their data on the Litentry blockchain. So they need to pay some fee to the Litentry blockchain. Now the most parts that Litentry gets the benefit of the biggest usage of the Lit token. By the way, Lit is our native token on Litentry network. So the main usage of Lit token is that for the identity credit computation, because for each request from user or either from user or from the dApps, they need to cost some Lit token as a gas fee for computing and for fetching the data and computing the data and to get the credit. So another interesting feature I mentioned before is this identity staking. For example, if an identity owner select a tag, for example, this long-term liquidity provider, he could send a request for the network to prove if he is qualified for this tag, and the off-chain worker will fetching and computing the data from different like blockchain, like Chainlink, Filecoin, Uniswap, and check if the result is positive, then this DID will be stored into the identities pool and be used for the feature matching process. The matching process, for example, here the match buyer will send this request to the identities pool, and after the identity pool will use some random selection generated by the blockchain to get a match winner and send this ID back to the match buyer. So some quick introduction about our team. Our early contributor, Genius Joe, has also joined Parity in 2020, and the other early contributor, Mike, is the founder of a Rust community in China, and all the other developers are very experienced software engineer in Germany. So also our team is mainly based. The company is mainly based in Germany, and most people is working in Germany. So we have attended the hackathons in Berlin, and we have been some 3 times prizes. And previously we also have experience in building a Ethereum DApp project there. And some products we have built since 2019. We have this Litentry Authenticator is a mobile app, Litentry Runtime SDK for developers, dApp Playground for showing our concept, and Data Center for integrate with IPFS Explorer and some GraphQL caching server. This was what we have do before, and currently we have moved our focus to Litentry App, because we want to use the application to integrate to interact with the blockchain, and this Litentry app will allow the identity owners to use their identity for them to use their aggregated identity to interact with, for example, with DeFi, with on-chain governance there. And for example, here's some key features of it. So first, we want to aggregate different identities, and then we want to incentive the governance, because as we all know that the currently voting rate on Polkadot and Kusama is still low. For example, this Kusama denomination voting is about only 10% of this voting. So we want to use our token to encourage the user to join the on-chain governance events or the off-chain discussions. And third feature of this application is that we want to connect the different wallets on mobile, because there's a lot of users using I'm token, for example, I'm token of Mass wallet, and we want to create a wallet, allow user to sign the transaction from different wallet, so that this wallet user could actively join the on-chain governance and then. And the last thing is that we want to build a financial center on it. As we said before, that is a credit is very critical for the DeFi projects. So here, if we integrate the financial center with a debt marketplace, then we could providing a graded and computed DeFi services, or even for the new project, if they want to have the airdrop actions, they could use our app to verify qualified users. Yeah, our runtime is still not in development. We are preparing our testnet. It probably will be released soon. And as I and my team all have solid background in mobile engineering, we all want to add another break into the whole Polkadot ecosystem. We want to add, for example, we want to build our Litentry app to integrate identity registrar there, to get the cross-wallet communication there. Also, we want to have native Litentry runtime support and on-chain governance support, and we are also building a light client service there, which could be used as the same as a Google Play service, but only for the blockchain substrate-based blockchains. And we want to integrate debt market here and identity messaging support. But firstly, currently we are on the first milestone to integrate Litentry identity registrar, and it's working very well. Probably we will see it soon. And about the community, as currently I'm traveling in China, so we have to a lot of presentation in Asia, but generally we have a big we start to building our community since this October, and it's works pretty well. For example, we already have our Telegram channels, or even Telegram channel in Korean and Japanese, and we have the Japanese Twitter, for example, and now we have our weekly updates posted on Medium, and also recently I have attended different conferences. For example, this Web3 conferences in Shanghai to join the panel and to have the AMAs and have some like one face-to-face talking, face-to-face interviews there. I also very appreciate the chance to have the virtual meetup here on the Crowdcast. Also, like we are actively cooperate with universities. For example, in the next month, we will have a workshop on Huazhong University of Technology and Information, and also we will host a hackathon here with Dora Hacks in next month. So we are actually there's a lot of things are happening at the moment. So please stay tuned with us. And here's our channels. For example, more information could be found on our website, litentry.com, and GitHub there's lots of our codes. And yeah, and also feel free to join our Telegram channel. Right, Telegram channel is not here probably. I will send it in the public channel. Okay, great. Hopefully, I didn't exceed the time too much. Alex, I can't hear you. You are muted, I think.
There we go. Hanwen, yeah, thank you so much for the presentation. Yeah, really exciting stuff you guys are currently building. And yeah, Dan went ahead and shared the Telegram channel in the chat. And yeah, really exciting stuff. So if you have any questions on Litentry, go ahead and pop them in the chat here. And yeah, I guess yeah, I'll go ahead and get started with one. So it seems to me in this workflow, you have sources of identity, and then you have the computing of the credit, and then this credit weight is governed by the LIT, the lit token holders. After that credit is computed, you mentioned two outputs. You mentioned the identity pool, and you also mentioned just using that credit in Litentry-based apps. So could you kind of talk about the identity pool versus kind of the Litentry-based apps using this credit?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So firstly, we link different identity from different blockchains, and then we allow user to send a request to compute the credit based on the on-chain governance functions, right? To get this credit, and this credit will be directly sent back to the user for different, for example, for DeFi project products or for the on-chain governance actions, right? This is one major usage for our blockchain, for our network, and also for the lit token. And this is also currently what we are building at the moment. But about the identity pool is something like we think which is interesting, that an interesting side that the user could staking. For example, this is some interesting concept is that the user could staking his identity as, for example, as a long liquidity provider into the pool, and could periodically get some rewards from the pool. And then if there's some other project, for example, another Uniswap come again, he want to attract some like long-term liquidity provider, then he could send the matching request to the identity pool, and to get the matching to get the matched identities like this. So this is two different scenarios, like for the apps and for the identities pool. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. Yeah, a user comes and can take their kind of credit-weighted identity and go leverage it in whatever dApp they're interested in, or yeah, can leverage it in the identity pool. You also mentioned these off-chain workers. Where in this kind of in this model do the off-chain workers kind of really come play a role? Is it more in establishing the weight of the credit, or is it in deciding where the identities are inbound coming from? Yeah, where are the workers come from?
Yeah. For example, for applications, if they want to get some data, currently the only getting, for example, they get from some API point from Infura or from Etherscan, they to get this data. For example, let's make a simply most simple example is he want to get the balance of the Ethereum. Then probably he could use Infura, or he could use the Etherscan to get the data. But this is not trustless, right? This is you depends on a central API point endpoint for that. What if the endpoint have some problem? Like the last week, I think we have got the problem from Infura, right? So when we compute this credit, we want to this credit to be computed in a decentralized way, in a trustless way. So we use different off-chain workers from different validators to fetch the data from different endpoints. For example, he could fetch the data from EtherScan or the Infura or from different or either Pro from different endpoints. And then and if the all computed to get the same result, get the same credit score, then we believe this is a validated result, and we send this to the application itself. So in this way, that we met the credit computation in a fully decentralized way and a trustless way. So the off-chain worker is leveraging this whole the validators computing power and to fetch the data and compute, and all these like endpoints or these algorithms could be changed or could be governed by the lead stakeholders.
This makes sense, yeah, and it seems to establish consistency if you have the same result coming from multiple workers, and consistency in establishing that element of credit. That makes sense. Do you see once this credit system is built, more people can just start building kind of applications from scratch without needing to design for a reputation, because hypothetically, like, that could be solved already by Litentry. They could just use your product.
Exactly. That's also what I'm thinking, that how to judge the person, how to judge the people. It should not be handled by the centralized institutes or the centralized banks. I mean, every people have their own idea on how to judge a person. That you can submit your reputation or credit computation algorithm into the blockchain, and you encourage others to use that, or you only use it in your own application scenarios. That's what we think is the most valuable things for the whole network, because we believe that the world is variant, right? Also, people's opinions are also variant, right? So, and this algorithm should also be, a wide used algorithm should also could be changed by major stakeholder or the major part of voting powers. And another interesting example I mentioned before is this, like for airdrop, for new airdrop projects. Currently, the different projects, they could create a different airdrop criteria for the new user. For example, they want from which blockchain, which transaction history from which blockchain is important for them. Then they could generate such like a credit or computation algorithm on our blockchain. We solve the hard work for them, and they just need to upload their algorithm. And also on our dApps, we have good integration with them, so they could also use our dApp to attract the users. So that's what we do.
Super interesting. That's exciting. You mentioned some of your community initiatives at the end of your presentation. Alongside of that, where can someone watching this presentation today kind of dive in and start getting their hands on integrating with Litentry, or starting to code with it?
What is the question again? Could you please?
Where can someone get started with developing with Litentry?
Yeah, sure. Because currently we are preparing our testnet, but we are actively talking with different projects. For example, Fala for privacy computing, Crust for storage, for data storage, and also we are currently talking with Ontology about the identity scores. So if there's more projects want to get access to us, we welcome. We are more than happy to talk with you. And please directly contact us on the Telegram, or you can find me on the Telegram channel, or send the emails to us. We will. I mean, we are a global team, so we can respond in like 24 hours or something.
That's awesome. Last question. You mentioned the hackathon, the Dora Hackathon. Is that China only, or is that a global hackathon?
I think it will be held internationally, and we will try to figure that out soon.
Super. Everyone, go check out Litentry's social channels and dive in. Hanwen, thank you so much for making time this morning in Beijing, and thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, that wraps up the initial Virtual Polkadot Ecosystem Meetup. And thank you all so much for joining today. And we look forward to hosting these again in the future. Stay tuned to our socials and to this Crowdcast channel for future updates. Thank you all. Cheers.